Hello, my name is Kayla Slinsky. I am head of school at Macbeth Academy, www.macbethacademy.org. You are watching Office Hours, where we talk about empowering students and teachers and admins in this virtual education world. Today, we're talking to the amazing and prolific Dr. Corey Hall. She has been an educator for 24 years. She's been a librarian for 8 years. She's an adjunct professor. She's also an educator. She works with STEM Education Works. I want to make sure I say that right. And she's amazing. And she's going to talk to us about, well, first, we know that many schools have closed. In Pennsylvania, today they closed down, or yesterday was the last day that they closed down, right? Or been open. New York City schools are closed. But we have these wonderful STEM teachers that want to continue educating in this virtual hybrid scenario. So Dr. Hall is going to talk to us about how to do that in a very affordable and equitable way. So first, let's kind of chat. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on today for Office Hours. And I just kind of wanted to echo what Kayla said, that right now is such a difficult time for teachers and for students. And it is really hard to sit back and watch and not be kind of in there right now fighting the battle with my colleagues, because they have been asked to do something that they haven't been trained to do. So they are being asked to teach in a hybrid setting, which is even more difficult than teaching in an online setting. And we have teachers who are trying new technologies. They don't have the support, they don't have the background, but they're still doing it. They're still out there fighting the good fight. And so that's one of the things I just really wanted to focus on today, is getting information out to teachers so that they feel like they have somebody on their side, somebody that's going to provide information and resources and support, knowing that we are absolutely behind them. We know that they did not cause this disaster and that they are doing the very best they can to give their kids what they need to succeed.
That's brilliant. And all teachers, admins, principals that want to get their STEM programs are rigorous and they want to continue that rigorous level on a budget, this is what this conversation is about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent. All right, so let's get started. So I have little notes here. So ways to teach STEM virtually. We have a little presentation that Dr. Hall created, and we're going to share. All right, so where do we start, Dr. Hall?
So I wanted to bring up an idea that I've been working, I'm sorry, I'm hitting the wrong button, with my colleagues. And this is the idea of a virtual STEM lending library. So one of the things that I've been talking to teachers about and admin is, we have this makerspace equipment or the studio equipment that we purchased, and it's sitting in an empty room right now, or we can't do anything with it. Our kids aren't here, our equipment is here. What are we supposed to do? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that public libraries have already been doing, but it can easily be transferred over into the public school setting or the public school library setting, is the idea of a STEM lending library. Mm-hmm. So I'll talk in a second about which technologies I think work best for this idea, but essentially it's exactly what it sounds like. You will send home technologies with your kids so that they can have the experiences that they would normally have either in a learning studio, a makerspace, or your STEM classroom. Mm-hmm. So a couple of things, just wanted to give you some ideas. So the containers that we've been using, we've been trying this out with some of our local schools and libraries. We just use dollar store containers. So when we talk about budget, Kayla mentioned, let's do this on a budget. Mm-hmm. We're not kidding. We used dollar store containers. We went out and these 2 containers came from the dollar store. So very, very inexpensive. And then we created an inventory list for what was going to go in each container. And we laminated that so that you can easily wipe it down with the cleaning cloth, to disinfect. Mm-hmm. But the inventory list is for you and for your students to quickly be able to tell what's in that kit. And then another strategy here is to create a QR code that will take the kids to a website or an app that you want them to work in. So this really makes life easy for your kids. So let's say you're working with Sphero. Sphero has a very, very robust website with all kinds of activities for students. So if you just put the QR code right there on your container, the kids scan the QR code and there you go. And a lot of the, sorry, go ahead.
Jump in. So how how do I make a QR code?
So QR code, if you just qrcodegenerator.com
Okay.
and you paste in the address for whatever it is you want, it will create the QR code for you. You
Okay.
print it, you cut it out, and you paste it on top of the container. So
Okay.
your kids just hold their iPad over the QR code and it will take them right to the app or the website that you want them to go to.
So they have to download the
So
app first, and then they.
yeah, so
Okay.
most of these have apps, not all of them. And if it's a website, you wouldn't need to worry about the app, but Sphero is an app, and I'll talk about some other ones too, but that's definitely an easy way. Most of these have classroom setups. We could do a whole session on that,
Yeah.
where you can create classrooms within Sphero so that you can set up assignments and grade from your computer. Your kids are at home on their computers. Again,
Brilliant.
free, simple.
Mhm.
And along with that QR code, if QR codes aren't your thing, you can just create your own activity guide or a list of ideas for your kids to be using with these technologies. I just highlight the idea of laminating, because no matter what, you're going to have to clean these and disinfect them as they come back in because of COVID. So just a little reminder, don't forget to put in things like batteries, your USB cables, because your kids may or may not have those things at home. I mean, I have a drawer full of them, but you know, your students may not.
Right.
And then just something else to consider if you're going to go this route is a lending agreement. And this is just something simply stating, you know, as a student, I'm agreeing that I'm taking this technology home. I'm taking responsibility for it. I agree to bring all the pieces back, and I will, you know, I will be responsible for those pieces. So this is sort of my idea of how do you get the technology home to kids in a way that's easy and simple and safe.
That's brilliant. So this is good for teachers. It's also good for libraries. Like
Yes,
some
and libraries
Mhm.
are doing this already. They are actually the pioneers. Now, of course, as you said, library is my heart, library is my life. So I definitely have been communicating with librarians about how they're using this. And there are entire library systems, big library systems that are using this as a way to get, like, they have Spheros, they have Little Bits, they have Microbits. They're already doing this. So patrons put these items on hold, they pick them up for curbside checkout, and they take them home just as they would a library book. So, and that's how I see this happening in a classroom or a school library as well. So that's how I would see those being used.
Okay, that's brilliant. All right, so STEM Lending Library. And then you know what's really cool about this is that there's no cost to the family and there's lower cost to the school. So it's really the idea of putting everything together and then having the QR code and then the list to get it out to the kids. Brilliant. Excellent.
Absolutely. And like you said, the nice thing about cost, many schools already have these items. So you don't even have to go out and purchase them. They've already done that before COVID hit.
Right.
So they've just been sitting in a classroom. They've been sitting in a makerspace somewhere not being used.
Right.
And there's nothing more frustrating to a librarian and STEM teacher than items that aren't getting used. So this is how you get them back into circulation and let your kids have the experiences that this is why you purchase these items. So this is a great way to do it.
Sure.
I did just kind of want to highlight what I think are the easiest items to use a STEM lending library for, because there's certain ones that wouldn't lend themselves to this.
Right.
But I believe Spheros, if you haven't used Spheros, you have to use Spheros. They're amazing. They're little tiny programmable robots. They very easily fit into a dollar store container. Here's a Sphero right here. So you can see little tiny thing. It sits in a nest. And so if you were to create a lending library, put the nest, you put the Sphero, whoop, the trade off, and then you put the USB cord and send it home with your kids. So very, very simple to do, but Spheros are probably, and the easiest to clean, by the way. So very, very simple. And the Spheros website is so robust, as I said before. Every activity for every grade level, for every subject you could think of. It doesn't matter if you're a kindergarten teacher or an 8th grade teacher, if you're teaching math or language arts, Spheros has something for you. Microbits down at the bottom. If you haven't used Microbit, they look a little more overwhelming, but they're really not. They're very, very simple to use. They're little tiny microcomputers, microcontrollers, and students learn coding with these. Cool. So they're very inexpensive. Most schools have them, but if you don't, you can now get the new versions for $10 a piece. So they're very, very affordable. And students can do all kinds of things with Microbits. So definitely, and it's so small, it'll pack right into
Oh,
your little dollar store container. So easy, easy. Little Bits, if you haven't seen those, they're little magnetic pieces. I have one on my screen here that teach kids about circuits, and they are great for K through 5, even 6. I used them with my 6th graders. Very simple to put a kit together of Little Bits with activities for them to try out. The only thing I would warn you is that one of the outputs is a buzzer, and the students like to line up as many buzzers as possible and blow your eardrums out. So be careful about that if you, if you do that. So they'll line up 7 buzzers just to see how loud they can get.
Wow.
Legos are great. They're not necessarily technology, but they're definitely STEM. So sending home Lego kits, you can dump them in bleach water when they come back and clean them. And then we're going to talk more about this, but STEM activities. So things like catapults, or we do an activity where they have to create a snow shovel where they shovel the cotton balls off the desk and they have to create their own snow shovels. You have to remember that not every student is going to have access to the materials for these activities.
Right.
So creating a kit for students that has all of the activities, even if it's in a Ziploc bag, that can be sent home. We make sure we have equitable access. So that's my first big strategy for getting those technologies home to kids and getting their hands on these things that you've already spent the money on. How do we get them out there to the kids?
One question that it just happened to my brain. Could we go over the grade levels for each of these things? Like what would be appropriate?
Sure. So Spheros really are K through about 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I say they go that high kindergarten because Spheros has 3 levels of codings. Draw coding, where the kids are using their fingers. There's drive coding. Then they move into block coding, which is more like middle elementary to higher elementary. And then they get into text coding and JavaScript. Mm-hmm. So really, you could take that all the way up 8th grade. Microbits, you could take all the way to high school because they really, they do have block coding, but they definitely focus on text coding. Little Bits, K through 5 or 6. And then, of course, Legos, you can, however extensive you want to go with that, can go K-12.
Wow.
And then depending on the STEM activity would be, that's really up to the teacher what they're creating.
Excellent. Thanks. This is really cool. I didn't know any of these things. All new words. This is cool. All right.
So another thing that probably we've all experienced, because I'm also a mom of a student who is now virtual, is how do we involve our families in STEM activities and STEM challenges? Right. So I want to highlight again, I have this note kind of at the bottom, but I just think for administrators, for technology directors, for teachers, just keep in mind that not every student has access to all of the items that they would need for activities. So just keep that in mind, that we want to ensure that equitable access. Right. So going to that idea of the lending kits, also hotspots, if they're not very expensive, they're simple to lend out, and that means every student has access to the internet. So we just have to keep that in mind, that not every child does have internet access at home. We can't make that assumption. Right. So I just wanted to throw that out there to make sure we have those in place. Okay. But there are so many websites available for family-based activities and challenges. And one of my favorite is the STEM Laboratory is fantastic. And this is really aimed at like your kindergartners through 2nd or 3rd graders, which is great because a lot of times you'll find STEM activities for a little bit older kids. But these are all just really fun, hands-on STEM activities for kids with all the instructions, all the different projects. They link them to the different curricular areas. Most of them are either materials that most kids will have at home or very, very inexpensive. Some of them don't require any purchasing of anything at all. Wow. So this is a great family website that if you want the families to get involved, this is a great way to do that.
Brilliant.
And then WWF, the World Wildlife Federation, also has entire toolkits that families can use at home. They also have them translated in Spanish. Wow. So this is really great for your ESL kiddos. So, and they have primary and secondary. They have everything you could possibly need. The parents just print out the toolkit. Everything is there for the students. So this is an excellent resource. You can see there's lots of stuff that kids, I mean, who doesn't want to learn about elephants? Like they're the coolest things ever. So just really, really neat resources that are freely available, and they're already leveled, so parents can easily find which one would work best for their for their student. So, and again, I love the fact that they are already translated in Spanish. So
see what happens when we click it. It's just the same.
There you go.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So your toolkits will all be in Spanish.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great tool, and I just love this website. I love WWF. I think it's fantastic. It makes me think of wrestling for some reason.
Oh yeah, well.
Okay. So Science Buddies is another one. And actually this one's cool because it has reviews that people who have actually built the different activities have gone through and said, this was really fun. This was really easy. Making ice cream in a bag. Again, simple activities that families can do together. One thing that I might do as a teacher is, especially if you're using a learning management system, you can have the kids take videos of themselves doing the activities with their families and then posting them. I'm trying to think, it's not Schoology, but what's the one that's for elementary that is more of like a journal-based learning management system? It's like, it starts with an S, but it's completely leaving my brain right now. But anyway, teachers will know. And it's just a great opportunity for kids to add to their learning portfolios if they're taking video of themselves doing these activities and posting those in their learning management systems.
Okay, that's great. And then is this the grade level? Or
yes, so they'll have them in the lesson. It will tell you which grade level it's at, but you can also filter right here. So if you wanted a middle school lesson, if you wanted a kindergarten lesson, you can filter.
It's amazing they have them for all grades.
Yes.
For K through 12.
Yes.
Good.
So, and again, free. They're reviewed. You can very easily decide if this is something that would work for your families and your students or not. So, great resource for teachers.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, and somehow I didn't get the Seattle Aquarium, but I'm going to I got to show you the Seattle Aquarium. The Seattle Aquarium has great activities. So if your curriculum includes anything to do with life science, look at the Seattle Aquarium. A lot of aquariums and zoos, we know, have resources, but this is just one of my favorites. They have so many STEM skills embedded in their activity sheets. They have coloring sheets for the younger students, just adorable resources that the kids won't even know they're learning because they're so much fun. Here we have read alouds about sea creatures. So this is a great resource for kids to be able to do with their parents. So check out the Seattle Aquarium website. It is awesome. So build a shell dissolving. They have the ages already listed. Just amazing website. So I love it. I just wanted to share that because they did such a good job.
Thank you. This is wonderful too, because I know a lot of parents, teachers, a lot of teachers, like you said, a lot of like us, we're both parents. So just being able to have these free resources is just a game changer. It's wonderful.
Yes. And I know for myself, my child that's at home, if I'm not intentionally engaging him, he is sitting in front of a video game. So this is a way to actively engage your student and hopefully getting them doing something other than vegging in front of the Fortnite. So,
wow.
So this is just something I wanted to share too. Go ahead. My company is STEM Education Works, and what we do is we bring together educational technologies with curriculum, and we have quite a few resources, but this is something we just finished, and I'm so excited about it, and I just wanted to share it. This is it's called the Build Smart Clubhouse Kit, and what happens is the kids will get a kit, and they will build their clubhouse from scratch. They learn all about things like king studs and cripple studs and joists and the 4-triangle corner or the 4-corner stud. It's just really, really fascinating. And everything that we do, we embed it with career connections. So every single lesson has a career connected to it and cultural connections. And they build this from scratch. It's really fun. They're provided with 3D printed tools like spacers and corner triangles and corner squares and roof triangles and really fun stuff. So they really become they become architects and they build from scratch these clubhouses. But that's just the first half. The second half, they then take their clubhouses and they automate them. So using the microbit and a special microbit kit, we have them automate a fan, a thermostat, a doorbell, and a light. So they get to pick what they want to do. They put the sensors in the house and they're working items. So I've actually built my own. I wish I had it with me. It's out of my garage, but you push the button, you have your own doorbell that you program the music. Really, when the temperature in your house gets to be above 80 degrees, your fan turns on. Like, it's really, really neat. They learn all about coding and Internet of Things, IoT. They learn all about that. So super excited about that. That's a resource you can definitely reach out to me for if that's something you're interested in. In fact, we have 10 counties in Indiana. The 4-H clubs have agreed to pilot these for us. So they're actually running this program for us starting next week. So we're very excited to see.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're really excited.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say is, how do you partner with community organizations? I'm thinking about libraries, nonprofit organizations that work with kids, the equitable access piece. Talk to me more about that.
So one of the things that we do is we provide help with finding grants. Now, my company is based out of Indiana, even though I am based out of Pennsylvania. So we work with Purdue University, and they put out something called an INMAT grant, and it provides micro grants for teachers. And this is the kind of thing that we try to connect them to. So we do have resources for grants on our website. We're adding to that constantly to help teachers who want to add more technologies, but they just don't have the budget for it. So that's something that we do. We are partnering with, like I said, the 4-H's. We have 10 counties in Indiana. We're getting ready to reach out to the Pennsylvania 4-H and partner with them. Our next step after that is Girl Scouts of America, because they have a very strong STEM focus for their girls. And that's also a passion of mine, is making sure we get girls into STEM careers, because sometimes they don't see themselves as being smart in math or smart in science, so that's really important to us. And then as a librarian, I'm constantly reaching out to libraries and, how can we help incorporate some of these things? And they're telling us, we need help with how would we market this to our clientele, that sort of thing. So definitely we spend a lot of time working with our local communities.
Okay, that's excellent. So I guess the best fit would be, an education organization that works with as a STEM program, would like to start a STEM program and would like to empower girls in STEM as well. And
absolutely.
So really anyone that has an interest in STEM for kids. It's brilliant.
And I will say that in any of our curricula, you'll see that we have career connections that purposely we've sought out sort of non-traditional people in roles. So, construction workers who are 19-year-old females, something you might not necessarily think about. Right. So we definitely try to expand the idea of, an engineer doesn't have to be an old white scientist with glasses. An engineer, actually one of our engineers that we interview has green hair and a nose ring. So we just want to make sure that kids realize that they can be whatever they want, and that science isn't boring. Science is really kind of cool.
Yes, it is cool. And it's necessary. It's an empowering thing to know that, yes, I can be anything I want.
Absolutely. And this librarian might have some tattoos herself. So just saying. Just a few, 6.
Yeah. So. I love it. And then talking about the cart kit, the micro cart kit.
So that's one of our next projects I actually just started working on. This is a really cool one because you can do this completely in a traditional setting if you want. Okay. The point being to eventually move them from a small cart to a fully functioning human-sized cart that they would race in the Grand Prix, the EV Grand Prix. Whoa. But it starts out small, so you don't have to be panicked if that's too big. We do have it scaled down, and they can either 3D print their chassis. That's one of the cool things. They learn all about the different parts of cars and engines and motors and axles and all of that, but they either 3D print their chassis, they can create their chassis of whatever they want, or we actually have a cereal box version that they create their chassis out of a cereal box, and that's really fun too. And then once they've done that and they put their gears and their motors in place, they bring in the microbit and they code the car for speed and for data collection, and it brings in that coding piece as well. So really cool project. We already have schools using the microcart kit, just not with our finished curriculum yet, but we have that available already. It's so much fun. I did a build recently for the microcart kit. Really fun.
I love it. And when's that coming out?
Race car driving.
Is that our?
Well, it's already available, but the full curriculum, which could be a semester or a year, depending on how you want, if you want to go all the way to the actual race cars where the kids are in the cars, that will be out in probably March of 2021. So Clubhouse Kit will be out December.
Okay.
Probably end of December, and it should be available on our website by the beginning of January. But the microcart kit will be available probably March or April 2021.
That's brilliant. Okay.
So exciting stuff.
I feel like I could talk to you forever.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, you have so much wonderful information. I think that maybe because your superpower is being a librarian, you just have all the knowledge, and your techniques, you have all the knowledge. I could talk to you for hours and hours, but I think that our time is almost up. I always ask if you have one bit of advice, one thing you can tell people that are kind of struggling right now, especially STEM educators and admins. What would you tell them? What's the wisdom?
So I'd give you two, and one isn't wise, it's just from the heart. Because I've been out of the classroom since June, it's easy for me to say this, and I know that you all are in the trenches, but just remember that sometimes you are the only face that a child sees during the day that is a friendly face that they feel safe with. And I cannot tell you how much I miss that piece. And probably it is easy to forget that when you're in the struggle of, I'm just overwhelmed, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Just remember that these kiddos are relying on you. You know, you are their safe space, even if you're doing it virtually. So that's not wisdom, that's just from the heart. But I would say wisdom wise, do not be afraid to play. So I don't think that STEM has to be super serious. And I have to tell you, when I started in the library 8 years ago, I had never coded. I had never touched a 3D printer. I had never done any of these things. Wow. And all of a sudden I had to become an expert, and I had to just stop that idea of being childlike. And I would sit on the floor and I would get kids involved, and they would teach me how to do things. They taught me how to play Minecraft. They taught me how to play Dungeons and Dragons and print our characters on the 3D printer. So play, just play. And remember that school doesn't have to always be serious. Sometimes it's fun. Wow. That's what I would say.
That gets me right in the heart, because that's exactly exactly how I feel both of those things. I love it. Dr. Corey Hall, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. And I have a feeling that we're going to see you a little bit more.
I hope so. I would love to talk more about this with you, because I love it.
Yes. And you're such a wonderful person, and you have a wonderful mind. Yes. So that is it for our office hours for today. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next Thursday at 7 o'clock. Take care. Bye-bye.